Hello and welcome to Of Course It's Miracles, A Course in Miracles. I'm your host, Candace Johnson. I have such an incredible show for you today. We are going over what is a projection. This course covers obviously A Course in Miracles Teacher's Manual, but also, we are looking at the CIA documents on the HemiSync experience because I believe that it perfectly sums up what we're actually dealing with. We're also going to be going into the senses, how we see this illusion that makes up our world. It's an excellent show today. I'm very excited to bring it to you. Let's get into it. Hi, welcome to Of Course It's Miracles, A Course in Miracles podcast. I'm your host, Candace Johnson. In this podcast, we take a non-dogmatic approach to the major topics in A Course in Miracles Teacher's Manual. Together, we'll explore the course from a more cosmic and esoteric perspective to better understand the true nature of our realities. Join us as we uncover how to bypass illusions and make the light choice for a life filled with miracles. As always, we're going to be starting with this book, The Teacher's Manual of A Course in Miracles. This is where we're going to start every time we start the show. And just like the last deep dive I did, we're going to be starting with the exact same chapter and going over what a projection is. So we're starting at chapter 2, the illusion of separation. And I'm just going to cover a couple of things here first to get us going. Okay. So this section deals with the fundamental misuse of knowledge, referred to in the Bible as the cause of the fall or separation. There are some definitions which I asked you to take from the dictionary, which will be helpful here. They are somewhat unusual since they are not the first definitions which are given. Nevertheless, the fact that each of them does appear in the dictionary should be reassuring. Project, verb, to extend forward or out. Project, noun, a plan in the mind. Project from the concept of the world, a natural grand division, okay? We will refer later to projection as related to both mental health and mental illness. We have already observed that man can create an empty shell, but he cannot create nothing at all. This emptiness provides the screen for the misuse of projection. Now we're going to go to section 5. To project as defined above is a fundamental attribute of God, which he gave to his son, you. In this creation, God projected his creative ability from himself to the souls he created, and he also imbued them with the same loving will to create. The soul has not only been fully created, but has also been created perfect. There is no emptiness in it. Because of its likeness to its creator, it is creative. No child of God can lose this ability because it is inherent in what he is, but he can use it inappropriately. Whenever projection is used inappropriately, it always implies that some emptiness or lack exists that is in man's ability to put his own ideas there instead of truth. Now we're going to skip to chapter 11. These related distortions represent a picture of what actually occurred in the separation. None of this existed before, nor does it actually exist now. The world was made as a natural grand division, or a projecting outward of God. That is why everything that he created is like him. Projection, as undertaken by God, is very similar to the kind of inner radiance which the children of the Father inherited from him. It is important to note that the term project outward necessarily implies that the real source of projection is internal. This is as true of the Son and of the Father. Now we're going to skip all the way to 14. The history of man in this world, as he sees it, has not yet been marked by any genuine or comprehensive reawakening or rebirth. This is impossible as long as man projects in the spirit of miscreation. It still remains within him, however, to project as God projected his own spirit to him. In reality, this is only his only choice because his free will was given him for his own joy in creating the perfect. Okay, so today we are covering the concept of projecting outward. What does that even mean? What are we projecting? What are we projecting in, out, through? everything. We're talking about the reality that we exist in that does not exist at all. Hey, listeners, this is Candace, and I want to take a moment to talk about something truly special: your skin. At Luluti Skincare, we're dedicated to nurturing not just your skin, but your entire being, body, mind, and soul. Our holistic approach integrates ancient wisdom, modern science, and intuitive healing to provide transformative care. From our luxurious small batch skincare to farm-grown herbal blends and tinctures, each product is crafted with the finest natural ingredients to support your well-being. And here's a special offer just for you. Subscribe now and save 20% off your first purchase. Everything that we see, touch, taste, smell, hear, everything in this illusion is not real. It's all an illusion. I keep saying illusion because that is what it is. We have to understand that nothing actually exists. And it is a combination of our thoughts, our emotions, and our actions that create what we consider to be reality. When you fully understand this, and you understand that to project out is almost like to reject, and to perceive correctly is to see and find the love and the good and the source of all and the God in the experience, you will have a better understanding of how everything works so that you can have more power over your creation. Okay, so this document was released in 1983. And HemiSync is by this guy named Robert, who was an astral projector. He's a scientist who discovered how the brain waves work, and he was astral projecting as a kid, and it really like bogged him down. He really wanted to know how reality worked because he could not stay in his body. The CIA literally took the information from this man. And in 1983, they're writing a letter to the government to tell them what this is because they want to utilize it for their own purposes. We got this document, I think, in 2003 with the Disclosure Act when the CIA had to release all of these documents. I read this document years ago and it blew my mind, and it really did begin to give me the ability to see, putting that in quotes, how reality is constructed and have a better understanding of what is actually going on around us because nothing is actually here. So I'm going to be jumping through different sections in this document, but again, you can download the whole thing, read it for yourself. It's fascinating. So HemiSync gives you the ability to astral project, and to properly astral project, you have to learn how to train your mind and utilize both the right side and the left side of the brain in sync. We have a split mind, and the split mind is one of the consequences of the fall of man. Okay. This document first goes in to tell the general of the army what's actually going on with reality. And the way that he explains it is so beautiful because he really does nail down how it works. So I'm going to read this to you. And obviously, I'm just starting at where we are. To do this, we will first consider the fundamental characters of the material world in which we have our physical existence in order to accurately perceive the raw stuff with which our consciousness must work. The first point which needs to be made is that the two terms, matter and energy, tend to be misleading if taken to indicate two distinctly different states of existence in the physical world that we know it. Indeed, if the term matter is taken to mean solid substance as opposed to energy, which understood to mean force of some sort, then the use of the former is entirely misleading. So he's saying, we think of this world as being matter and energy, being matter as in solid substance, and energy, which is force, which is how solid substance moves. It's the movement of everything, right? And he's saying it's entirely false. He's saying instead, science now knows that both the electrons, which spin in the energy field located around the nucleus of the atom, and the nucleus itself are made up of nothing more than oscillating energy grids. Solid matter and the strict construction of the term simply does not exist. Rather, atomic structure is composed of oscillating energy grids surrounded by other oscillating energy grids which orbit at extraordinarily high speeds. He goes on to say, a live human cell vibrates at approximately 10.3 hertz. And then he's going into the different scales of movement that happens within reality. And it's the movement that creates the hologram, which we perceive as solid stuff, substance, and space that makes up the world around us. Okay? It really doesn't matter that if it's 10 hertz by the 20th power or 10 hertz by the 15th power, but no matter what you're looking at, everything around you, including you, is movement. You are a source of vibration and force and mass. And your body is literally those vibrations, those sources, and those masses almost collapsing down to the speed of light so that you can perceive it. I'm going to go on to explain this. So he's saying we live in a hologram. Energy creates, stores, and retrieves meaning in the universe by projecting or expanding at certain frequencies in a three-dimensional mode that creates a living pattern called a hologram. So if you think of the big breath where everything expanded out, or the Big Bang where everything expanded out, it's like we live in a universe of yin yang where it's all expansion and a collapsing of energy. Expand, collapse, just movement. The frequency or the speed of this movement determines what it is. So the difference between the tree and the cement is just based on the speed of the exact same substance or force in the universe. Imagine the world as an intricate energy grid, okay? A dynamic web of light and space, continuously in motion and interlaced with patterns. This grid represents the fundamental nature of reality, where energy flows and interacts in complex layered patterns. So if you can imagine this, it's all light, strings of light. And this light is stacked upon each other, really with no space in between it, because space and time are also a part of the illusion. And as a being made of energy waves, you are intimately connected with this grid because you are the same thing as it. You have no real separation. When you perceive this energy field, your own energy waves interact with it, causing the abstract patterns to momentarily coalesce into recognizing forms. So when you see something, your perception of it slows it down to below the speed of light and it collapses into a form. And this happens so quickly and continuously, it's always happening. So nothing around you is actually solid. When you're touching something, it's actually the atoms bouncing off of each other because the force of both of them are so great that they can't merge together. What you experience as solid objects are actually just your senses interpreting these energy patterns. Your senses slow down the energetic movement to below the speed of light, collapsing the fluid patterns into discrete forms that you can recognize and interact with. In essence, you're only receiving a tiny portion of it. We as humans only have 1% perception within the spectrum of light, of the light spectrum. We only get a very, very, very small sliver of it. Cats see more than us. Owls see more than us. Bugs see more than us. Okay, just to give you an idea. And it's an ever shifting field. Nothing is really solid. It's all plasma. It's all fluid. And in reality, you are the being, the light consciousness that's never really moving, but these frames are bouncing in and out of your reality field, and you are constantly perceiving what they are, like symbols or patterns. And we talked about this a little bit before, I think, but if you think about it, the thought sends out the signal, the feeling draws the event back to you. So you're constantly in a state of interacting with this field. Your thoughts and your emotions determine what goes out and what comes back. You interact with only what you have created. This is all you. Just as it said in A Course in Miracles, God gave you the ability to create. When you think of the idea of a vessel, it's the best to think of it like an auric egg. You have like this shell, and this is all your creation. Every single person you interact with in your creation is a vibrational match of you. It's a mirror of some part of you. No one else actually exists here. It's all you. And it's your job to create whatever you want to create within this bubble. Time is just movement. It's your perception, your consciousness moving from frame to frame to create the illusion of time. And you experience all of it with your senses, and how you feel about that experience is what you get back and experience more of. This obviously has a lot to do with your vibrational resonance, how high or low you're vibrating in this reality field. When we are vibrating with God, we have access to more. When we are vibrating in fear or lack, we have access to less, okay? These same scientists have this emotional vibration chart. So everything is waves of energy. These waves either move in long, slow, or short bursts. The shorter and faster, the larger. The slower, the shorter, I'm going to say, okay? When we are in the expression of source and we are creating through source as love, our energy expression is higher. And again, there's a video with this on YouTube. If I put it in the show notes, and you should look at this video because it has all the images to really help you concretize this concept. It's just on YouTube. Usually I just do my voice on YouTube, but I have everything here for you. When you look at your emotional vibrational chart, which we all know about by now, you know that when you are at a lower frequency, you're not able to access as much as when you're at a higher frequency. But what you might not know is that when you are at that high frequency, they have calculated that there's a time space dimension that we're existing in, but outside of it is what they call the infinite or the absolute reality. When you are at a higher frequency, when you are emanating the vibration of love purely, you click out. So your waves expand up, out into the absolute reality, down again, out into the absolute reality at the curve of the wave, okay? And that is where you are with the source of all. And you're really not here anyway, but this idea that if you were trying to astral project, you would do so at the click out. You want to get your frequency so high that you can click out of this reality and go visit other dimensions. But even still, if you think again about quantum jumping, it's at the click out that you can land in another place or another part of time. All right. But when you are in this expression of love, you are directly with source. Now, another thing that the Course talks about is that there are two worlds. He can't reach you when you're at this low fear range because you are stuck in this time dimension and he didn't create this. He can work with time, but he didn't. God says, source says, this isn't me. I didn't do this. I'm at the absolute place. I need you here so that you can experience heaven, so that you can experience the ultimate reality. From here is where the miracles are. It's in these higher dimensional forms. So when you're able to increase your energy resonance, you're able to easily click out into absolute reality with every practically inhale and exhale, we know our vibration works faster than we can even breathe. You're technically always in that space. Now, scientists call this the conscious matrix, okay? The universe is composed of interacting energy fields, some at rest and some in motion. It is in and itself one gigantic hologram of unbelievable complexity. According to the theories of Carl Freedom, a neuroscientist at Stanford University, and David Bohm, a physicist at the University of London, the human mind is also a hologram, which attunes itself to the universal hologram by the medium of energy exchange, thereby deducing meaning and achieving the state we all call consciousness. So it's the interacting with the field that is what consciousness is what he is saying. With respect to the state of expanded or altered consciousness, such as the gateway uses, the process operates in the following way. As energy passes through the various aspects of the universal hologram and is perceived by the electrostatic fields which comprise the human mind, the holographic images being conveyed are projected upon these electrostatic fields of the mind and are perceived or understood to the extent that the electrostatic field is operating at a frequency and amplitude that can harmonize with it and therefore read the energy carrier wave patterns passing through it. Changes in the frequency and amplitude of the electrostatic field, which comprise the human mind, determines the configuration and hence the character of the holographic energy matrix which the mind projects. To intercept meaning directly from the holographic transmissions of the universe. Then, to make sense of what the holographic image is saying to it, the mind proceeds to compare the image just received with itself. Specifically, it does this by comparing the image received with a part of its own hologram, which constitutes memory. Okay? So, you're interacting with this field constantly. That your consciousness is what allows you to do so. All right? In this energy matrix, depending on your vibrational resonance, you see differently. When you are at a low frequency, let's say fear, everything around you is scary. When you are a high frequency, let's say love, everything around you is loving. We are perceiving it. Now, there is this trick. The mind is a tricky thing. We don't see in real time what is in our reality field. Our brain is constantly using the past to determine the future. We have to talk about what the brain is doing to completely understand this. All right. So you'll see here they have an image, if you're looking at the video, which you should be, of the left side of the brain and the right side of the brain. The left hemisphere of the brain is the self-cognitive, verbal, and linear reasoning component of the mind. It fulfills the function of screening incoming stimuli by categorizing, assessing, and assigning meaning prior to allowing passage to the right hemisphere of the mind. The right hemisphere, which features as the non-critical, holistic, non-verbal, and pattern-oriented component of the brain, appears to accept what the left hemisphere passes to it without question. Consequently, if the left hemisphere can be distracted either through boredom or through reduction to some sort of semi-sleep state, the external stimuli to include some sort of hypnotic suggestion, then you can bypass the left side and go straight to the right side, which is where we have this ability to see more and to understand more of the universe and have more of I would even say, an emotional intelligence based on what we are seeing. So the left side is like the computer software, and it produces input from the right hemisphere to our verbal symbols and concepts. So it's like our critical, logical side. The right side reduces 3D dimensional holographic images into 2 dimensions and has like a go, no go. So the left side says, this is what it is. This is what exists. This is the only thing that happens. And the right side of the brain says, okay, I believe you. Now, this idea that some people are left side of the brain and some people use the right side of the brain is completely false. We use both sides in this pattern and in this way. If we had the ability to use the right side of the brain first, reality wouldn't look like this at all. You would be making decisions from by your feelings, from the symbols, from a more holistic interpretation, being able to see where your past may have been wrong and to holistically create better outcomes. Now, why is our brain split like this? It has something to do with the fall of man. And I want to go back now and read some more chapters in A Course in Miracles so that we can better understand how our mind is playing tricks on us continuously. Okay. Hey guys, Candace here. Are you ready to embark on a journey of self-discovery? At Luluti Skincare, we offer more than just skincare. Our self-discovery services are designed to help you reconnect with your inner self and unlock your true potential. Whether you're interested in our chakra tune-up, energy healing, or quantum lymphatic course, we've got something to guide you on a path to personal growth. Visit lulutiskincare.com to learn more and start your transformative journey today. Invest in yourself and discover the miracles within. That's lulutiskincare.com. Begin your journey now. You can always find the link in the show notes. Okay, so I'm on chapter 6, the attack and fear chapter, and the uses of projection, which is section 3. Any split in will must involve a rejection of part of it, and this is the belief in separation. The wholeness of God, which is his peace, cannot be appreciated except by a whole mind, using the right and the left sides appropriately, which recognizes the wholeness of God's creation and by this recognition knows its creator. Exclusion and separation are synonymous, as are separation and the dissociation. We have said before that separation was and is dissociation, and also that once it had occurred, projection became its main defense or the device that keeps it going. The reason, however, may not be as clear as you think. In the ego's use of projection, to which we are obviously referring, what you project, you disown, and therefore do not believe is yours. You are excluding yourself by the very statement you are making that you are different from the one on whom you project. So everything out here, if you think it is separate from you, you are disowning it and saying, it doesn't belong to me, it belongs to the material world, I would say. Since you have also judged against what you project, if you look at this and say, this is wrong, this is false, this thing you literally created out of your own mind, we're going to get into that when we look at the census, you are saying that what you created is false, okay? You have already attacked it by projecting it. By doing this, unconsciously, you try to keep the fact that you must have attacked yourself first out of awareness and thus imagine that you have made yourself safe. Projection will always hurt you. It reinforces your belief in your own split mind, and its only purpose is to keep the separation going. It is solely a device of the ego to make you feel different from your brothers and separated from them. The ego justifies this on a wholly spurious grounds that it makes you seem better than you are, thus obscuring your equality with them still further. Projection and attack are inevitably related because projection is always a means of justifying attack. Anger without projection is impossible. The ego uses projection only to distort your perceptions both of yourself and your brothers. The process begins by excluding something you think exists in you, which you do not want, and leads directly to excluding you from your brothers. We have learned, however, that there is another use of projection. Every ability of the ego has a better counterpart because its abilities are directed by the mind, which has a better voice. The Holy Spirit, as well as the ego, utilizes projection, but since their goals are opposed, so is the result. This is where you have to understand, okay? The left side of the brain is trying to make it seem like everything is separate from you and like everything is false. And what it uses is the memories that are already there. It's just a processing computer, guys. It's just a computer constantly relating itself to itself by using the past, almost like if you turned on your computer and you had to upload an image, it likes to use information that it already has. If you've uploaded that image 5 times, it's going to upload quicker and it's going to use less energy than if it has to determine what the entire image is from scratch. Your brain, to save energy, uses all past information to tell you what something is. But that past information is false. That's where the lie is, okay? Now, God said, I created you perfect, but thoughts begin in the mind of the thinker from which they extend outward. This is as true of God's thinking as it is of yours. Because your minds are split, you can also perceive as well as think. Yet perception cannot escape from the basic laws of mind. You perceive from your mind and extend your perceptions outward. Although perception of any kind is unnecessary, you made it, and the Holy Spirit can therefore use it well. He can inspire perception and lead it towards God by making it parallel to God's way of thinking and thus guarantee their ultimate meeting. This convergence seems to be far in the future only because your mind is not in perfect alignment with the idea and therefore does not want it now. The Holy Spirit uses time, but does not believe in it. Coming from God, he uses everything for good, but he does not believe in what is not true. Since the Holy Spirit is in your minds must be able to believe only what is true. The Holy Spirit can speak only for this because he speaks for God. He tells you to return your whole mind to God because it has never left him. If it has never left him, you need only perceive it as it is to be returned. The full awareness of the atonement, then, is the recognition that the separation never occurred. The ego cannot prevail against this because it is an explicit statement that the ego never occurred. I think this is a good time to stop and look at the senses and how the senses work to determine your reality field so that you can then see why we cannot rely on them to through the use of the ego to determine our or perceive our reality field and what we must do instead. Okay, so how does your sight work? An image comes to your mind from the electromagnetic field, okay? It comes into the eyeball and the iris. It actually comes in upside down. That image goes to the nerves in the back of your eye. Those nerves travel up to your brain. Your brain collects the image, compares it to past experiences, and projects out for you to see what your brain told you it was based on what you've seen before. Waves, those same waves of energy, all of that energy is the same thing. It comes here. So if you're seeing and hearing something at the same time, that's the same energy. We'll talk about that in a second. The energy waves come to your ears, they go through your cochlea. They literally have hairs in there to vibrate and to tell the nerves what it's hearing. That information actually goes up to your brain. Your brain compares that sound to what you've heard before and tells you what to hear, and you hear it. Touch. You touch something. The senses in your hands or your body, whatever you're touching, those nerve impulses go up to the brain. The brain tells you this is what you're touching, and you are projected out the feeling of what you touched. All of this takes a little bit of time. It's always, always, always in the past, and always, always, always based on what you've known before. So every single thing that you experience, taste, same thing. Those fibers on your tongue takes it up to the brain, tells the brain what it is, tells you what you tasted. Smell, same thing. Doesn't matter what it is, but it's always based on past information because it goes to the left side of the brain before it hits the right side, which would take those symbols in a different way. It's always going to be relating it to something that it knows before. If you smelled something foreign, it kind of throws your brain off because your brain doesn't really know how to relate to it, okay? It doesn't really know what to pick up from it. It doesn't really know how to tell you what to smell because you've never had that smell before. Now, energy does a myriad of things. It's all the same thing, but it can be seen as color, it can be heard as sound, it can be tasted, it can be smelled. But it's all the same pattern, and different parts of your body pick up that energy to take it to your nerve impulses. I have this great form here from this book that I have called Biogeometry Signatures, which is all about the patterns of the universe. And they have come up with a chart to determine how this information actually processes in your brain for you to have a projection. Okay. So all of this comes, this energy is coming from absolute reality. All right. And remember, because of the scale of the radio waves, we only perceive a very small percentage of this information. But the first level, it goes to the sense organs. And when it gets to the sense organs, level 2 is all about the qualitative nerve code reaction. And what I would say that means is that it stimulates the nerves. Level 3, it stimulates the nerves and tells it to touch it, taste it, smell it, hear it, or sense it, all of the different senses. Okay. It senses it in one of those ways. It's breaking down that pattern for you in different organized qualities. From there, you go into the data bank of your consciousness and you take in that information. And every piece of information, you then have an emotional part to it. You determine if the smell is good. You determine if the sight is good. You determine if you like what you hear, taste, touch, smell. You then describe a meaning to that determining. I hate this smell. I don't want this smell in my environment. I reject this smell in my environment. This person I'm judging, I look at them. I've determined in my own mind with my own emotions that I don't like this person. And I've described the meaning that this person is awful in my reality. Then it forms your inner reality based on these processes of concepts. And then you project out the experience based on your thoughts and your emotions based on the wave. And then it all comes back to you as an experience that you have witnessed now, that you have created, and you do it all again. Now, where would God's source fit into this? It would be at the meaning level where you would determine that everything is love. Nothing is separate from you. This is where you either determine if it's separation or inclusion, if it's all a part of your reality or you're rejecting it from reality. This is where the ego gets involved. The ego didn't create the pattern. The ego determined if the pattern was good or bad. The ego either judged the pattern, rejected the pattern, can't stand the pattern, or wholly loves the pattern because it knows it came from absolute reality. Within that concept is where it then goes into your inner reality and you project out the results of what you thought about it. Now let's go back to the course reading. Okay, we're at chapter 7, the consistency of the kingdom, and then we're going to look at chapter 8, the total commitment, and it's just section 81. Perceive any part of the ego's thought system as wholly insane, wholly delusional, and wholly undesirable, and you have correctly evaluated all of it. What I see, I'm not going to allow that to affect my mood because I know that absolute reality has created this entire creation for me, utilizing time, okay, for experience specifically for my learning. And we're going to get back to time in a minute. This correction enables you to perceive any part of your creation as wholly real, wholly perfect, and wholly desirable. Wanting this only, you will have this only. Okay? And giving this only, which meaning what you're giving is the projection. You are giving this, okay? You will be only this. The gifts you offer to the ego are always experienced as sacrifices, but the gifts you offer to the kingdom are gifts to you. They will be treasured by God because they belong to his beloved Son who belongs to him. All power and glory are yours because the kingdom is his. So when you get images into your projected reality field, you know when you automatically want to feel judgment, for instance, that what you're doing is utilizing past experiences. And really, the perfect way to reduce this ego feeling is to stay in the present moment. You don't utilize that past. You know that it's wholly undesirable. You determine that because everything in this creation is yours, everything in this creation is holy, everything in this creation is desirable, the image will change and something new will come back to you. Now, chapter 11, the problems of guilt, section 6, finding the present. To perceive truly is to be aware of all reality through the awareness of your own. But for this, no illusions can rise to meet your sight, for all reality leaves no room for any error. This means that you perceive your brother only as you see him now. His past has no reality in the present, and you cannot see it. Your past reaction to him are also not there. And if it is to them that you react now, you see but an image of him which you made and cherish instead of him. So remember, our job is to see others as the light source of God, to skip all of these parts of the mainframe and to focus on the absolute reality. And when it comes to meaning and the emotions and what we determine is actually happening in our experience, we have to reject the notion that our mind is telling us to focus on the past and instead stay wholly present and say, I'm not going to say that that's who that person is. I'm going to see them as the pure light of God. I'm going to see them as pure source and light and reject all of these other notions because I know my mind is playing tricks on me. In your questioning of illusions, ask yourself, is it really saying to perceive what it was now? If you remember the past, as you look upon your brother, you will be unable to perceive the reality that it is now. You consider it natural to use your past experiences as the reference point from which to judge the present. Yet this is unnatural because it is delusional. When you have learned to look upon everyone with no reference at all to the past, either his or yours as you perceive it, you will be able to learn from what you see now. For the past can cast no shadow to darken the present unless you are afraid of light. And only if you are would you choose to bring this darkness with you. And by holding it in your minds, see it as a dark cloud that shrouds your brother and conceals their reality from your sight. This darkness is in you. Why is the darkness in you? Because every single thing that you perceive is just symbols that you determined what it meant. When you see judgment in another, you are seeing a vibrational resonance that fits with your vibrational resonance, and it's saying more about you than it is saying about them. The judgment that you are casting on another came from your own mind, is your own creation, and is within your vibrational resonance. It is our jobs to question the judgment we cast on another and to look for the light in the other so that we can then perceive that light in the other, which like a wave comes back to us as light, okay? Time can release as well as imprison, depending on whose interpretation of it you use. Past, present, and future are not continuous unless you force continuity on them. You can perceive them as continuous and make them so for you, but do not be deceived and then believe that this is how it is. For to believe that reality is what you would have is to be according to your use for it is delusional. You would destroy time's continuity by breaking it unto the past, present, and future for your own purpose. You would anticipate the future on the basis of your past experience and plan for it accordingly. Yet by doing so, you are aligning past and future and not allowing the miracle, which is the present moment, which could intervene between the two of them to free you to be born again. The miracle enables you to see your brother without his past and so perceive him as born again. His errors are all past, and by perceiving him without them, you are releasing him. And since his past is yours, you share in this release. You are to think about it like this, okay? All of these people in our reality field belong to us. This is your Garden of Eden. This is your creation, which you can go out and determine if you want to make it perfect or if you want to go out continuing to live in the past, judging others, and the future that you will see will be determined by that past, okay? The funny way that I like to think about this is that I have a pond in my backyard, and I've been working on this pond for a while. And one thing, if you don't have a pond, that you need to know is that there's this homeostasis with it where you want to get the water right, the quality of the water right. You want a certain amount of algae if you have fish because you got to feed the fish and they eat the algae. And you're really trying to get this balance right. And I was looking at this pond the other day and I just started chuckling because I thought, This is like my very own little Eden. This is my own little creation that I'm trying to get wholly perfect. And then I looked around my garden and I thought, this is my very own little Eden. This is this garden that I'm trying to get perfect, where I have established here the food that I'm growing for my family, but I also have things for pollinators and for all of the different animals within my creation to feed and be nourished from. There is nothing in this garden that I'm going to judge. There's nothing in this garden that I want to stump out. I walk tenderly around this garden. I treat it as a creation of mine. I should be treating my reality the exact same way. It's all about learning how to see this as your sole responsibility and tending to it as if it's your own garden. And if I see a vegetable that I feel like is not doing well, I don't judge it and attack it and call it stupid. I try to tend to it and help it and allow it to grow. And when I feel like it's not growing, even though I fertilized it, and I watered it and the sun is shining on it, it has to go on its own journey. It's not my responsibility if I can't get it to do those things. And if we can think of our reality in this exact same way, where would we be? How would we be? How would we treat the people in our reality if we treated them like the flowers or the fruits or the vegetation in our garden? Okay. I want you to really think about this. Let no dark cloud out of your past obscure you from him, for truth lies only in the present, and you will find it if you seek there. Okay? So, our real job here is to stay in the present moment and not allow the illusion to trick us or to hold us back and to cast us out or to keep our people enslaved. Okay? Think about it like this even further. Everyone that you see is a projection of you. They're a mirror of you. Now, within their reality field, you're a mirror of them. Okay? But what you think about people in this reality, you chain them to those concepts. And it is your job, your sole exclusive job, to either save them and to see them as holy, or to keep them locked into these ideas that you have about them based on these past experiences. You literally, the Course says that when you save yourself, you save thousands of people with you. And what they are determining from this is that your job is to save everyone in your reality field. And how you save everyone in your reality field is by seeing them anew when you see them and giving them the space and the idea that they too are God, and unchaining them from these ideas that we have allowed to hold them back. We held them back, okay? Give you an idea. So I'm thinking about this from my own experiences, all right? So if I have a girlfriend in my reality who I can't stand any of the men that she dates, and I'm constantly thinking about, Lord, if she don't just learn how to meet a good man, and if I wish she would just do this and do that, and she ain't gonna never meet a good man. I find in my reality she doesn't. Why? Because I've chained her to this idea about her inability to do so. I had to change my way of thinking and thinking, you know what? She's so deserving. She's so loving. I hope she finds someone who is just as awesome as she is. I know she will find someone who is just as great as she is. And within that reality field, I've seen so many changes in my friends and how they are now considering and thinking about dating that they had never considered before. And I realized I have unchained them from these ideas that I have had about them based on my judgments of them. And when I release them from these ideas in my mind, I release them in reality, in my reality field. And how wonderful it is that I get to do this for my friend who I love. Okay. I've got a couple of stories for you now about this reality that I've seen in a couple of psychedelic experiences, and a story from something that I watched to give you just a way to sum up this podcast. So, whenever I do any psychedelics, I try to get myself into a really good headspace so that I am not in the state of fear. And I really use it as a time to practice in the reality field to kind of see what I can see and just use all of the information that I've read to try to have a practice round of what's going on out there, because I know that it accelerates my energy. Okay. So one of the things that I did was I went into the basement of this house, and the basement was fully finished, had a pool table down there. And one of the coolest things was that there was this image in the basement that was like of the ocean, and you could see the ocean moving. It was absolutely phenomenal. And one of the things that I noticed in the basement, one, I noticed that in basements, because it's contained, the energy field is stronger. And I have an image here to show you of what reality looked like. It wasn't exactly like this, it wasn't dark, but imposed on top of the reality field that we see were like these lines, okay, going parallel and horizontally and laterally, okay, in all of the colors of the rainbows, and they were blinking in and out of the reality field so much that they kind of seemed solid, but you could see through them, and they were stacked on top of each other through as far as the eye could see. And one of the things that I noticed, and only two people noticed this, me and another friend, but there was something down there with us. And whatever was down there with us, I could see it. It was a being about my height. It was bipedal, so it had a head, two arms, two legs, but I can't really describe what he looked like. He looked creepy. I will tell you that. I was not in that basement by myself. We kept going down there, getting freaked out, laughing, and running back upstairs. But one of the things that I noticed is that he was traversing through these dimensional light fields or these grids that were really tight together, almost like a blanket, and the patterns are woven light. All right. And instead of seeing him walking, every movement was him blinking into another field. And he knew that I was there. I could tell he was coming towards me. Um, and I think he was there even if I didn't see him, okay? Because all of our dimensions are stacked on top of each other. But you could see this pattern of resonance. And he was within the pattern, not solid. So you couldn't see like if he had on a technicolor jacket, it just looked like these rainbow lights or fields. And that's when I was like, this is what the reality field looks like. It's just these dimensional waves on top of each other, and every single thing that we see are just like these symbolic patterns that could just be geometrical forms, and we've determined that it's a piece of art, that it's a sofa, that it's a this, that it's a that. So to see beyond, excuse me, to see beyond when we are looking at a human being, it's almost like trying to see the light beyond them and knowing that it's there. Um, and when I think about this, it's like everyone is a geometric pattern. It's just a resonance or just a consolidation of energy. And what our jobs is to see them as that consolidation of energy with pure light coming through it, and focus less on the form or on their actions or on their words or on what they've done in the past, and to see them as a creation in our reality, there for some whatever reason that they are there for. Another story I want to tell you is that I was watching this episode from Gaia, which, if you don't have Gaia, guys, I don't know what is up with you. You got to have Gaia, because it's going to deep dive you on all of these incredible concepts and just tell you so much about the universe. You'll never get enough of it. Okay. I've been deep diving it for years. One of the shows that I was watching is called Cosmic Disclosure. And they always have these like old CIA guys and soldiers on there who have worked with what they call like the Interstate Alliance, or like the Galactic Federation, or this space program within the world, not just the United States, that is far more advanced than anything we could have ever imagined. Whatever they're telling, they're lying to us. Okay. They have not told us the full story. Even when they release things like the CIA document, many of them are heavily redacted, and they have ensured that they want us to know this information and not other information. Okay. So this guy is talking about being literally near Jupiter on a space base at an intergalactic meeting where it's like the UN Council, this giant spacecraft that is there, believe it or not. And they have meetings and trade with all of these other beings in the universe. And when he is going into these meetings, his commander will tell him, when you're in this meeting, do not look around the room. Because when you look around the room, based on the beings that you see that do not fit into your past memory bank, you will fry your brain. And I couldn't stop thinking about this for a long time. And so I'm going to tell you about this. So he talks about how when you are in the room, there are several meeting tables in this giant room where different people are having these meetings with different beings to do this trade in like a way where everyone can get along. Think of it like a UN council is directing this so that no one fights. Okay. And he said that he was walking down the hallway headed to a meeting, and he saw this being that sent his brain into overdrive. You get intense headaches, you start getting a cloudy vision because he had never seen anything like it before. His brain had nowhere to put the information, and it projected out the image of the scarecrow from The Wizard of Oz, which to me would be terrifying to see a scarecrow walking around. But he knew it didn't look like a scarecrow because he was talking to his commander about it, and he said, "Oh yeah, he looks like my Aunt Betty or someone else that the closest thing my brain could come up with is this," or my brain just spit out an image to put something there because it knew it was something in this reality field, but it had nowhere to put the information. When he talked about the intense headaches and the idea that you can fry your brain because your brain is not meant to take in that information like that, I just couldn't get over this idea of how this processing computer works. And now when I look at the reality field, all I can think about is what I cannot see. What am I missing? What's beyond what my 1% will allow for me? Now, in the course, it talks about you really cannot see this with the eyes. I'm sure because we are elevating our consciousness, there will be more allowed for us to view in the frame, but it's seeing beyond the eye, beyond the frame or this avatar that we consider our bodies that is used to process information, and utilizing the soul for sight, okay, to be able to feel and understand that there is more here that we do not understand, to me is incredibly exciting, not frightening, and more in line with the magic, the magic of the universe, and how much is here that we have yet to experience, and how much he is here we we can experience, and what will we see when we're no longer here? All of this comes to mind. We live in such a fabulously magical universe, full of so much creativity and full of so much wonder. And I know on a day-to-day basis, if you watch the news or if you're watching TV, it seems so much less than that. It seems so much less magical and full of miracles. But if you can step away from that and recognize that there is so much more around us that is available to us, if we can stop projecting the past, and instead focus solely on the present, what more can come into our reality field that we didn't even know was there? That is where I want to leave this episode. I really hope you enjoyed it. Please like, please subscribe, please comment and tell me, have you seen any of this universe? What have you seen? How do you feel about the projection? Do you feel like I missed something? Are you getting what I'm trying to put down? Where do you have questions? Where do you have insights? I'd love to have a Discord with you just to talk about all of these things. Subscribe to the Patreon. I'm going to have more there just about the HemiSync documents, because I love them so much and I love talking about them, and I need someone to talk to this stuff about. Also, check out luludiskincare.com. I've got some amazing new stuff there. If you really like understanding about the universe, I have a course called Protect and Preserve Your Energy, where I go over all of this information and more. We talk about the auric egg, or the bubble that is your reality field. And then I teach you how to preserve your energy, protect your energy, how to increase your consciousness, your awareness, your vibrational field. It's an incredible course. I also have the menstrual cycle course that is free right now. This is for women. It's my love letter to women to learn more about your elaborately beautiful, beautiful bodies and what we have as a gift, which is our period. It goes over the 28-day cycle talking about everything within the hormonal changes that you experience every day, how to work, what to eat, how to use your cycle to win at the world. Please check that out. If you subscribe to the website, you get 20% off of all purchases. I just created a new castor oil balm because I love to do castor oil packs to help with detoxing, but I find them to be such a freaking mess. So I decided to create a balm. It's like a stick that's easier to use. It's doing wonderfully well. I'm almost sold out. I'm about to go make a new batch now. You can check that out. It comes with a cloth and a cute little carrying case. And we have some really great things coming for fall. And of course, we have the skincare, which you can always purchase. Thank you again for being here with me. I hope you guys have a fabulous, fabulous time. I'm actually going to be doing another bonus episode this month on the blue moon that's coming, this full moon that's coming, because I got a really cool dream about it and I want to share that there. I hope you have a great time. Really dig into the energy. It's a dynamic month and it's leading us into more. I will be talking to you again soon for our energy update. But until then, please keep seeking the light. Stay in the present moment. Remember that you are so much more than this reality is trying to make you out to be. Again, I'm Candace with Of Course It's Miracles, A Course in Miracles. Have a great day.